Dana White joining us in studio. Dana, welcome to Tim and Sid.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate
Coming
it.
in.
The clip of you as a 15-year-old. Did you get ripped on a lot for that?
You know what's funny? We just got a new CFO. He actually just sent me a text busting my balls about that thing. Yeah. So, yeah, people love that.
It's almost like we don't know where to begin. So let's start with this weekend. UFC 206, Air Canada Center. It was going to be Anthony Johnson, Daniel Cormier. Things happen, injuries happen. Holloway, Anthony Pettis for the interim featherweight title. This is a good card. This is a really good card.
This is a great card.
But for a guy like you, I'm always curious. A main event breaks down, and this is not your first rodeo. How much BS does that cause for you in the office? Like how many weeks of work do you have to?
We're always scrambling. Listen, we're scrambling to make fights for these different cards we have. We have 42 cards a year, so we're always scrambling to make fights. You have guys who are injured, you know, guys and girls that just don't want to fight at that time, or whatever the deal may be. So. Listen, this is a hard business, man. It's tough to keep it all together, and there's nothing worse than when you spend the money, you go out. Because every time we go somewhere, like we came to Toronto, we did an on sale here. When tickets go on sale, you send the fighters out, they promote it and everything else, and then one falls off. It's tough, you know. But not to sound arrogant, but I think we're the best when it comes to saving cards, and you know, in boxing. The main event falls out, you cancel the card, you do it,
forget it.
6 months later.
Right.
You know, we do a good job. This card in Toronto was actually awesome. If you're a fight fan, this card's off the charts.
I can tell by your voice, and I said it to him earlier, it feels like there's a lack of buzz. He said to me it's underrated, and I can tell by your voice it's underrated.
Completely underrated. First of all, the main event, you know, Holloway hasn't lost in 3 years. He's on a 9-fight win streak. His last loss was to Conor McGregor. When Conor McGregor touches you, you go to sleep. He went the distance with him and lost by decision. And Anthony Pettis, I mean, first of all, the iconic shot of him running on the cage on the fence and kicking Ben Henderson in the face. The kid is well-rounded. He's super talented and a former world champion going down to 145 pounds. Great fight. The co-main event, Cowboy Cerrone versus Matt Brown, is ridiculous. You know, these guys are both nasty, mean, standing, trying to. Somebody's going to sleep in that fight, 100%.
That's not a washroom fight.
Oh, that
there are
fight,
certain fights where it's like I'm going to the washroom. That's not a washroom
fight. If that fight isn't fight of the night, we're in for a hell of a night. I can tell you that right now. And then the sleeper fight on the card, there's a kid named Doo-Ho Choi, okay? And he's from Korea, okay? This kid is what makes mixed martial arts scary, okay? Because if this kid was in line in front of you, you'd slap him in the head and tell him to get out of the way. And in 3 years, when you woke up from your coma, you'd wonder what happened to you, right? That's how good this kid is. 3 fights in the UFC, all vicious, nasty knockouts. He's taken on the number 5 ranked Cub Swanson, who is a tough, gritty veteran who is good everywhere. If Choi wins this fight, mark my words, he's the next superstar on the rise in the UFC.
Right. There's going to be some good content on this card this weekend. No, I mean, he told you. You don't need me to co-sign. He's Dana White. I'm not. You mentioned Conor McGregor. Let's talk McGregor. I know there's a baby on the way.
Yep.
But there seems to be a moment where if you wanted to, I don't want to say throw something together, but put something together, there might be time. Will he fight before that moment in his life?
No. He's taking time off. First of all, you know, you're talking about a super intelligent guy. This kid's really intelligent, obviously witty, quick. Everything that he says, though, he backs up. He's a very unique individual. He's a special fighter. One of the things that I love and respect about this kid, too, is, you know, he says, my girl is pregnant, and she stresses out beyond belief when I'm you know, training and when I fight. I don't want her going through this with my baby, which is absolutely dead on. He shouldn't. I agree with him. Not to mention the fact that what has also made this kid so popular, so famous is, you know, he fights that fight with Diaz, the second fight, which is the best fight you've ever seen in your life, right? Comes out dragging his back leg. His leg is messed up, right? That fight happened in August. He says, I want to fight November 5th in New York. No fighter ever comes out of a war like that and says he wants to fight 2 months later. That is one of the many reasons Conor McGregor is who he is and why he's become so famous and rich.
Why are we hearing that he's getting his boxing license? Do you know why?
Because he's the master of, he has nothing going on for 10 months, but he's got everybody talking about it. Everybody is talking about Conor McGregor.
You don't think because we all know how deep-rooted in British sports boxing is, right? Any guy who comes out of Britain thinks they're Mayweather or close.
Right.
You don't think he's
Ireland. He's
or
from
Ireland, sorry.
Yep.
But you don't think he seriously thinks he can give some guys a go?
Yeah, no, he'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Again, another reason he's so big, famous, and rich. It's what if you're a fight fan, Conor McGregor is exactly what you love. He embraces and embodies everything that fighting is about. He's the best, and he's also the best at getting the media going and keeping people talking about him. If it's not he gets his boxing license, now they're talking about the Mayweather fight. And when we were in New York, I bopped it. I hate talking about the Mayweather fight.
Right.
I hate it.
Why do you hate it?
But you've known
because it's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
Because it makes. First of all, if you
could make,
but you
so
know there's
much
a lot
money.
of yeah.
You could make so much money, Dan.
But
so much.
Let's let common sense prevail here, okay? Floyd Mayweather, the guy's gone undefeated for 20 years. Amazing,
right.
Because every night isn't your night, no matter how great you are, okay? In any sport, right?
Yep.
Gone undefeated 20 years, but he is the master, very good at picking the right guys at the right time in the right place, okay? Don't care how big of a fan you are, you got to admit that, okay? Number one. Number two, the fight between him and Manny Pacquiao was the most talked about fight for years, okay? That fight should have happened 7 years sooner than it happened, right? They're in the same sport, and they couldn't make that fight, okay? These guys are in different sports. You think this fight's going to get made? Doesn't matter how much money's involved. You saw what finally happened when that fight was made. It was the richest fight in combat sports history. Right. But it didn't matter. His fight still couldn't be made.
You've known Mayweather longer than you've known McGregor. Would he fight him?
I don't think so.
No.
But I bumped into 50 Cent at dinner one night
Me too.
in New York, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking.
As we're wont to do.
We're talking about lots of different things. Then I go back to my table and I sit down, and he goes to his table and he sits down. We eat, and then as we're leaving, we bump into each other again and we start talking again. And he says, "Hey, when's your boy gonna fight Floyd?" And I'm like, "My boy? You talking about Conor McGregor?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Floyd don't want that fight." And he goes, "Dana, Floyd wants that fight." So I said, "I'll tell you what. You call him and tell him. Give me a call."
So are you telling me 50 Cent now could be responsible?
He is.
Yeah, no,
he's a fight matcher. Yeah.
Biggest surprises in
50
recent
Cent is a
sports.
huge
He's the
fight
fixer.
fan, and he's a friend of Floyd's. He's a friend of mine, and I don't know. We'll see what he comes back with.
All right.
Interesting. I'm watching the press conferences. I gotta say, Conor McGregor has turned the press conference either leading up to a fight that weekend or ahead of time into must-view around here.
It's true.
Like their
Conor McGregor
guys
and
are
his fans.
McGregor and the Irish supporters.
Yeah.
It's become must-see either streaming or TV. He's showing up late. He's talking a bit more than normal. He's making a lot of money for a lot of people. Is he getting a little too powerful?
No, there's no such thing as getting too powerful. People play this thing up in the media like Conor and I are always butting heads and we're not. Conor and I have a great relationship, I could not respect somebody more than I respect this kid. Are there little things that I normally wouldn't put up with from another fighter? Absolutely. But I will for him. He's special. He's different. And he is, let me tell you what, no matter what he does or what he says and all these other things, when it's time to fight, this kid shows up. People fall out. You want to measure greatness? Measure greatness like this. When a guy falls out, 90% of the fighters will not fight. Right. They will not fight. They're like, I don't want another opponent. I've been mentally focused on this guy. My camp says I shouldn't do it. Right. Whatever their reasonings are, they have reasons why they don't fight. This guy doesn't care. He doesn't care. Yeah. And he'll say, who do you got? Yeah. We got this guy, and this guy. He says, pick one and let me know who you picked. Right. I'm going to the gym. Nobody. Yeah.
I remember backing John Jones for saying, I don't want to fight. I was saying, listen, he's geared up for this guy. This guy just whatever.
Conor McGregor doesn't care. Yeah. He'll go in and he'll fight anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yeah. Lots of people like to say it, but when it comes down to crunch time, one guy means it.
Let's stay on the relationship. A couple things I've read indicate he was pissed you took the featherweight title away. How pissed was he you took the featherweight title away?
First of all, leading up to this fight, every press conference, every interview, everything I did, I said he's going to give up one of these belts after the fight. We've never done this in the history of the company, let somebody hold two belts at the same time. We've never done it. But he's different. He's special. I know he's going to show up. I know he's going to do this, and I know he's going to do that, so I let him do it. But I said he's going to give up one. He can pick whichever one it is. He's going to give up one when this fight's over. Said that the whole time leading up. Now I start seeing these stories about Dana White stripped Conor McGregor of the belt. He was never stripped. He was never stripped of the belt. He vacated a belt, right? So, it doesn't take away the accomplishment. He didn't lose that belt. The belt was given up. It was vacated. He wasn't stripped, and he didn't lose it, so he considers himself a two-weight champion still. He should. The belt was never taken from him. He was never beaten in the octagon to lose that belt.
I like it because it sets up another fight. I got to ask you, because we were live on the air when the MMA Athletes Association conference call was going on. And so we were trying to monitor it and do a TV show at the same time, probably terribly. But as these quotes started coming up on Twitter and stuff, our eyes started popping out. What was your reaction, and did you listen to the conference?
No, I didn't listen to the call. Yeah. I don't ever, listen to anything or watch anything else or anything. I don't care.
Come on.
See, this is what people always say to me.
Come on.
I've been doing this for 16 years. I've seen it all.
Where?
I've been through it all.
You knew what was going on in Prague.
So not even GSP gets you to do?
You knew all that stuff.
Guys, I'm going to tell you a story. So, Rob Dyrdek called me up, right, after the sale. And I stayed in, and I continued to, a lot of people bailed. A lot of people are going away. He said to me, how do you get up every day and run the race when you already won the race? You know what I mean? Yeah. Do you really think I cared what was going on that conference call? Do you really think that you're out of your mind?
You cared a lot.
You're nuts.
I thought you cared a lot.
You're nuts.
No, but here's the other reason I thought you cared.
There's 3 unions out there right now.
This is true.
Right?
Yeah.
And what they're really doing is they're trying to put their hands in the guys' pockets. Okay? 3 unions. They're all fighting against each other, right? So the thing that used to be is let's start a promotion, right? Everybody would start a promotion and try to promotion. Right. The new thing is a union. Everybody's trying to start a union. They're businesses, just like any other business, right? So the one fail on this thing, the other 2, listen, these are all grown men and women we're talking about, right?
Correct. Right.
And when you're a fighter or a professional athlete or celebrity or whatever it is, somebody's always trying to put their hand in your pocket.
Right.
Okay? Now, as grown men and women, you can choose who puts their hand in your pocket. You can do whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, the big fail on this thing is putting Bjork Rebney in this thing, right? This guy's such a dirty, scummy human being, he had to leave boxing and come to MMA. That's how bad this guy is. So one of the classiest, smart, legendary guys that you will ever meet in your life is Sugar Ray Leonard. Ask Sugar Ray Leonard what he thinks of Bjork.
Okay.
Ask him what he thinks of him. Okay. The guy's so dirty. Do you want that guy's hand in your pocket? But the answer is no. And once that came out, all the fighters were like, wait a minute. This guy is looking out for my best interest?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And if you're sadly mistaken if you really think that I care about all these other things that are going on.
The one thing that came out to me that I thought raised fighters' eyebrows, and I want your reaction to, is that they said that the fighters get 8% of the revenues.
Well, I think that's the other thing, too. When you get, if you're going to stand up there and you're going to talk, you want to start a credible union, association, whatever you want to call this thing, right?
So Athletes Association.
You should really have your facts straight. You at least want to come out with facts. And you want to say, these are the facts, and you want to have a plan. And say, and here's what we're going to do. Da-da-da-da. They had none of that. When they say that we pay the fighters 8% of the revenue, I assume they're talking about Conor McGregor and not all the fighters. I assume they meant Conor. So if you're going to go out and do these things, at least get credible people involved, number one. And number 2, have a plan and come out with credible statements and things that are actually accurate. The problem is this is my best. This is my favorite. The guy says, Bjork, when I was doing this, I paid the fighters 53% of the revenue. There was no revenue. Of course you're paying him 53% of the revenue. I mean, if that's how we're going to gauge this, then back in the day I was paying 250% of the revenue.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
There is no revenue.
Okay, listen, I'm no rocket surgeon, so I'm not going to profess to be one.
Right.
But I look
you mean a rocket scientist?
No, I
right?
mean a rocket surgeon because you mix the two and then you're a bigger idiot than the guy. But when Mayweather fights Pacquiao, it's a $200 million purse, above $200 million purse for him. When he fights Berto, it's a $32 million purse for him. Conor McGregor was walking around bragging that he was going to make $40 million by year's end for this year, and he's had to fight 3 times to do that.
Right.
If you look at those numbers, am I to believe that Conor McGregor is 1/3 the draw that Floyd Mayweather is?
Well, here's the thing. The thing that you have to look at in boxing is a completely different model. There's never been a league that was built around a combat sport. You know, in boxing, every event is a going out of business sale. You know what I mean? If you look at the event was massive, right? And it made so much money, but they could have made more. What these guys did, you realize the worst thing, you know, in that fight was horrible.
Right.
Horrible fight.
Right.
Okay.
It wasn't very
it really,
which anyone could have seen.
It really hurt boxing even more than it was hurt before. The worst thing about that fight is I bought 10 tickets to it. Okay, that's the worst thing that came out of that fight.
Can't get free tickets to
No,
Pacquiao?
I don't ask for free anything. I pay my way no matter what. I'm going to the Raptors game tonight. I'm paying for my tickets.
I will never live by that code.
No, I pay for all my own stuff, man.
Okay.
I'm not looking for a free ride from anybody. So I bought 10 tickets to that fight. You couldn't get your tickets until like Thursday, the week of the fight. So what happened was these guys, as much money as they're already making. First of all, Las Vegas jacked all the room rates up, right?
Yeah.
No doubt.
Room rates were all jacked up. The city was ready to make and you have to understand, when you're a sporting event and you roll into Toronto, you roll into Las Vegas, you roll into anywhere in the world, you're a partner with that city. Right? Because the city is looking to make revenue off the hotel rooms.
Yeah.
People are going to go eat in restaurants. People are going to go shopping.
Yeah.
You are a partner with that city. Not boxing, man. Not these guys. They're holding on to these tickets, and they're all trying to sell them on the secondary market for themselves. You're already making $1 zillion, you idiots. You know what I mean? So what happens is room rates start bombing, right? Because nobody has their tickets. I'm not going to commit to X amount of days in Vegas at X amount of dollars for the thing when I don't even have my tickets in my hand. I don't even know if I can go. So they murdered the city, right? But they don't care. They don't care what you know, they leave.
So you're saying it's a long-term game for your...
Exactly. And listen, I got fights that I do during the year that aren't profitable at all. I got 42 fights, and we're building fighters, and we're building, you know, and a lot of people make a lot of money in this sport. You know, it's a completely different model than boxing. And thank God, that's how I built the UFC, off doing all the stuff, you know, the complete opposite of what boxing did. You know, so you can't compare them. They're apples and oranges.
The one of the reasons why I thought you would care about that MMA AA thing, you had 3 former champs semi-involved in TJ Dillashaw, Cain Velasquez, and GSP. 2 questions. 1, were you disappointed George was in that? 2, did it hurt his chances of us seeing him again in a UFC octagon?
No. Listen, as grown men and women in life, all these paths are available for us in life, right? And we choose which path we want to walk down. You know, you can say a lot of things about me. Here's one thing you can never say, because if you could, believe me, it'd be front page news. I've never screwed anybody over, and I've never not honored a deal, ever. Now, if you want to go stand with that other guy, where lots of things can be said, you're a grown man and woman, you can do whatever you want. The biggest problem for me in my job is I am the boss of over 500 alphas, male and female, okay? Complete alphas. The reason they do this is because they're wired differently than regular human beings, and they don't want a boss. They don't want to be told what to do, you know what I mean? And that's why this has never been done, this league that we have created and built. It's just, and at the end of the day, the one thing that's never going to change, everybody wants more money. Everybody wants more money in every walk of life. I'm sure you two feel you deserve more money. These camera guys want more money. You know what I mean? It's human nature. Everybody wants more money.
So it didn't hurt George's chances on the fall.
Listen, George St. Pierre and I got together in Las Vegas and had dinner about a month and a half ago. Then we met in New York and had breakfast. You can't meet a nicer guy than George St. Pierre.
Agreed.
He's an absolute sweetheart. I love the guy. His contribution to the sport in general and here in Canada have been second to none. And, I'm not afraid to. I have a deal with George St. Pierre. I have a contract. I'm not afraid to pay him more money, but it has to make sense. At the end of the day, we run a business. And if you look, you can say, when you're a fan, these guys are your idols. Give him more money. You're so stingy and greedy and everything else and yada yada. I run a business, not unlike any other business. And some of the things Cowboy Cerrone apologized to me for going up there, and I didn't know about it. I didn't know about this. I didn't know that guy was involved. I wasn't told enough. And I was saying about Cowboy, and Cowboy doesn't disagree. He's never won a title in the WEC or the UFC, right? He's headlined 3 events in his whole career. Headlined 3 events. The guy is going to make fighting this year $1.3 million, and that doesn't include his sponsorship, which could put him anywhere to $1.6 million to $1.7 million, $8 million. I don't know what the number is. Right. That's his business, not mine. But how much money do you think you should be making, Cowboy? And he says, that's not what. You never heard me complain about money, he said. I'm very happy with my money, but I want health insurance, like a health insurance thing and a retirement deal, right? So I said to him, listen, first of all, we do have health insurance for the fighters. We have health insurance. I want you two to go out and open a yogurt shop. 3 to 5 employees.
I've already tried. It didn't work.
Okay, all right. 3 to 5 employees and go out and get health insurance for them and see how much it costs. It's expensive. Now go out and try to insure 500 Ultimate Fighters. Okay? We have a health insurance plan now. If anything happens to them in the octagon, they're fully covered for anything. We cover everything that happens to them, right? But outside, now we have a deal when they're training, because a lot of guys get hurt in training. Is it the greatest policy ever? No. But let me tell you something. Don't ever be mistaken on why insurance companies are in business. They're in business to make money. Right. And you don't make money on 500 Ultimate Fighters because they're always hurt. Okay? And when we talk about post-fight, Cowboy and all the other fighters, you're making $1 million something this year. That is your retirement. You can't live off the sponsorship money and throw $1.3 million in the bank and do that for the next couple of years. And then, hopefully you invest your money wisely. I mean, that's all of our situations. We're all in that same situation. Believe me, when you look at these guys and you think, guy who's never held a title and a guy who has only headlined 3 events for the UFC is making millions of dollars.
I think we could do this forever, but unfortunately we don't have forever. So we have to thank you for coming by.
No, thanks for having me.
Always appreciate it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dana
Appreciate
White,
it.
President of the UFC 206 Air Canada Center tomorrow night on pay-per-view. It's a pretty good card.